Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, the Army Reserve Child, Youth, and School Service and Survivor Outreach Service. Welcome to everything you wanted to know about financial aid and scholarship. My name is Gina Nguyen. I am the School Service Specialist for the Child, Youth, and School Service, Odyssey TCI contractor. Joining me today is Ms. Kamara Rajabari, who is the Youth Service Specialist for the Army Reserve CYSS, and Mr. Beck, who is the Financial Counselor for Survivor Outreach Services. During this workshop, we will be presenting The Cost of College by Gina Nguyen, Financial Aid Process presented by Mr. Beck, Which Scholarship is Right for Me by Gina Nguyen, Improve Your Chances to Landing a Scholarship Money by Ms. Kamara Rajabari. College costs will vary depending on where the student decides to live during the academic year, whether they decide to live at home with the parents in the dorm housing or at an apartment. That will all determine the total cost. But for now, we're going to talk about the average national cost of tuition and fees for a full-time student that is an undergrad student. And they are to follow. The first one is a public 2-year college in-state averages around $3,471. For a public 4-year college in-state, it averages $9,804. For an out-of-state student trying to attend a 4-year college, it averages around $32,762. For a private nonprofit 4-year institution, that's an average around $42,419. For those students that are considering attending a California community college, that tuition for 2013-2014 averages around $1,424 for full-time students. However, these numbers are based on published tuition costs, and it's not what the student will actually pay out of their own pocket. Here, I provided an example of a Cal State like Cal Poly Pomona in 2014. Their average cost, which includes the in-state tuition, fees, room and board, and books, which is that total annual cost, $22,896. Underneath is the breakdown for out-of-state tuition and in-state tuition, and the percentage of students who receive scholarships or grants during that year. Let me go ahead and go back to the Cal State. I want to add that on average, for Cal State tuition fees for 2014-2015, that would average a student $6,521 for a full-time undergrad student. Moving forward, if a California resident was considering going to UC Berkeley, the annual cost for that with in-state tuition, fees, room and board, and books would come out to be $32,479. And underneath is the same breakdown of what a typical student that would be coming out of state or in-state would have to pay. On average, for a UC system tuition and fees, that might average around $13,300 per academic year for a full-time undergrad student. If you would like to know the cost breakdown for a particular institution, please visit that link underneath, money.cnn.com. Paying for college. After they learn the general costs, You may have doubts or hesitation whether or not you can afford to attend that dream college. Or you're thinking, hey, maybe I should go to a local community college. That might be a better alternative. I want to let you know that there's hundreds of scholarships and grants specifically designed to cover the educational costs. So that might put your mind at ease. And about 2/3 of full-time students use grant aid to assist with paying for college. And for those UC undergrad students, over 2/3 of their students receive some sort of aid with an average award of over $16,000. And for those California residents thinking about going to UC, that covers nearly half of the attending costs for a full year. And on the right, I've posted a little chart to see a clear picture of how students paid for college. And this is according to Sallie Mae in 2012 and 2013. 27 families used loans to pay for college. 38 of the tuition was paid from a parent or student income, and 30% were used from grants and scholarships. This cost of college continues to climb. It's more important than ever for students and parents to learn about the types of financial aid available and how to apply for them. And at this point, I want to go ahead and pass it over to Mr. Beck, who will be presenting the free application for financial student aid.
I'm a financial counselor with Survivor Outreach Services and a contractor with Strategy and Management Services, Inc. I work at Moffett Field in California. So the point of this going to college and getting a higher education, one of the points, apart from rounding out the student and increasing or improving their life outlook, is to actually earn more income. On this chart, the bachelor's degree is about in the center. The red lines, or the red columns, are the earnings, the average earnings of students with those different degrees. So as you can see, as each additional degree is attained, you can expect to be paid more going forward in your career. So in 2009, at least, somebody with a bachelor's degree could expect on average $53,300 in annual income, compared with somebody just leaving as a high school graduate of $32,552. The gray bars are the unemployment rate. So as your education increases, you're less likely to be unemployed at any particular time. So there are definitely economic benefits to education. So Gina was just telling us that, education can be expensive. Some of those numbers sounded scary, but this is really the reason why we're tackling this issue. But because of those very expensive cost numbers, a lot of families are definitely going to feel anxious about, undertaking this investment, because it's possible to make a costly mistake. The family is going to be worried about where the money is going to come from, and parents may be worried about whether or not after paying for college they'll have money to retire. So some of the problems involved, well, it's often the first time that you're dealing with sending somebody off to college if your student's about to go. Even if the parent went to college, it was probably 20 years ago and things were very different then. Another problem is that students, not understanding the process, apply to colleges that the family can't afford. Or families miss out on financial aid by not applying, or they apply but think they will get much more aid than they do. So the end result is, possibly a lot of problems, and the student might have been able to get to a better college for the same money had they understood the process. So a quick word before we begin. As a financial counselor, I have to say that this is presentations for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, investment, or tax advice. And when I talk about financial aid awards, you have to understand that that's the prerogative of the college financial aid office. So nothing in this presentation should be taken as a guarantee or promise of a particular type or amount of financial aid other than is required by statute. So here's the challenge. You have education goals. There are lots of colleges out there. They all cost different sorts of money. You're looking for that little piece right in the middle of the intersection of the circles. So not every college will meet your education goal, and the colleges that do meet your education goal, not all of them might be affordable to you. So you want to try and find that little bit there in the middle. So to do that, you need to, first of all, understand what your kind of college career you want. Then you have to evaluate the college and understand how to get in, whether or not you're going to get an offer of admission. And then on the money side of it, to try and get as much financial aid as you can, and then find a way to pay the rest of the money. So this is a different way of looking at the expenses that Gina presented earlier. So there's room and board expenses, personal expenses. That would be things like clothing, entertainment, pizzas late at night, that kind of thing. Transportation, getting around the city that the college is in. And if the college is away in a different state, then you've probably got to get back home a couple of times a year on an airplane, something like that. And then books and supplies. So most of these expenses are just general living expenses. I mean, you'd be spending this kind of money even if you weren't at college. And it ranges from, let's say, $13,000 to $21,000. It depends on whereabouts in the country you are. California, New York, the East Coast are going to be more expensive in terms of room and board than living in the Midwest, going to a college in the Midwest. Obviously, the further away the college is, the more the transportation costs go up, so on and so forth. But that cost can be dwarfed by the tuition and fees. Tuition and fees, you can see there's a tremendous variation there between, a public college. The lowest public college costs in a state in America is about only $4,000. Here in California, it's about $5,600, still very low. But you get to an expensive or elite private college, and it can be as high as $42,000. So there's a tremendous range in the cost of this higher education that you can pick from. Somewhere in that range, I'm sure there's a college that you can afford. So this is a college planning process. We're going to look at 3 little steps today. Estimate financial aid, have a preliminary plan, and what that plan might be with regard to selecting colleges. So we're going to start here with the first one, which is estimating financial aid. So here are the types of aid that might be possible. So the best types of aid are grants, and they can come from the federal government. They might be military grants, Pell grants, and they can also come from the state and from the college itself. The advantage of grants, of course, is that it's free money, so there's no need to pay it back. Next is work study. This is a job on campus. The university is the employer. They understand you have exams and things like that, so it's a relatively easy job, but it's a way of earning some money and providing a service within the college. Next best aid is called subsidized student loans. These are loans so you do have to pay them back, but while you're at college, they're not earning any interest. So it's providing the money to go to college, and there's no money to be paid against the loan until you've graduated or left college. Unsubsidized student loans, however, you get the money to help pay for college, but it is incurring interest while you're at college. So if you borrow $5,000 in the first year, when you come to pay it back after leaving college, it's not $5,000 anymore. With the interest, it might be $5,500. And then finally, if there's still a requirement for money, parents can borrow. And these are parent loans, and they would incur interest within 60 days after borrowing the loan. So you can see really what you want, hopefully, are the grants. So let's look at how much these are. So this is a little pie chart of undergraduate student aid in 2014, and it amounts to $221 billion, billion with a B. So starting at 12 o'clock and working round the clock, the first source of grants, which are going to be very useful to you, of course, are military and veterans grants. And they actually compose about 25% of all the federal grants given out. So that's a very important source of money for military families. The next type of federal grants are typically the Pell Grant. Pell Grants normally go to families with lower incomes. So those grants are meant to even the playing field, allow a student from a low-income family to be able to go to college. Federal loans, that's $78.5 billion. That's obviously a very important part of paying for college. Work-study actually is very, very small. Families do get an education tax credit. And there are state grants. State grants in California are actually pretty generous. So if you're going to a California college, that can be a great assistance. And then look at the institutional grants. That's the blue segment in the pie, in between about 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock. That is money from the college. So that money depends on the college that you apply to. Some colleges have more money than others. State colleges, like in California, the California State University and the UC system, frankly, they do have money to give out, but they'll definitely be giving it out to lower income families. However, private colleges have money to give out, and they are not bound to who they give it out to. They're not public organizations, they're private organizations. So they can choose who gets the money. And what you want to do there, as we'll see later on, is position your student so that the college desires the student and will actually give them extra help financially. And then finally, the private and employer grants. Some employers pay for undergraduates to go to college, and this section also includes private scholarships that Kamara will be addressing later on in the presentation. So, to estimate your need-based financial aid, the first thing I think is to check your eligibility for those military grants, and then check your eligibility for other federal and state aid to try and get an estimate of the amount of need-based financial aid you will get. So let's chat about the VA education, the military education benefits. The primary one is the post-9/11 GI Bill, Chapter 33. This sort of supersedes the earlier benefits, the Montgomery Bill, the Select Reserve, and the Reserve Education Assistance Program. Those programs can be converted to the post-9/11 GI Bill. And if you're in those programs, that's something you might want to investigate. For survivors, the post-9/11 GI Bill is called the Fry Scholarship. And a recent change was to allow those benefits to go both to kids and now to spouses as well. It provides the same benefits as the post-9/11 GI Bill, and it provides them for the full 36 months. As we'll see, that's a very valuable benefit. Now that spouses can receive the post-9/11 GI Bill, I don't really see any great advantage to using the Dependent Educational Assistance, the DEA benefit. There's also Another grant that maybe a lot of people don't know about, it's a supplement for the Pell Grant, so this could be on top of the Fry Scholarship, and it's for children whose parent died as a result of service in Iraq or Afghanistan. So the post 9/11 GI Bill, you might be eligible for up to 36 months of support. It covers tuition and fees for your state university costs, whatever state you're in, up to, and also at private colleges, up to a maximum of $20,235 per year. On top of that, there's a housing allowance to help you with your additional costs, and that's at the E5 rate and depends on the location of the college. So obviously that's higher here in California than it would be in other states. And then there's $1,000 towards books and supplies. There are some additional benefits if you live in very rural areas or in some states that have a yellow ribbon program. So the best way to take a look at this is to go to this website, benefits.va.gov/GI-Bill, and then you want to find that choose a school part and click on it. You get this screen, which is not a very pretty looking screen, but what you want to do there is to check on that little GI Bill comparison tool. That'll get you to this screen. And across the top, you can see that there's a process in choosing a school that starts with Explore Your Career. And that's something that definitely you want to take a look at. But right now, we're looking at comparing the school. And here is where you put in, what kind of benefit you think you are going to get. So you put in veteran or spouse or active service member, and which bill you're wanting to use. And then you pick a college to take a look at. So we're going to look at California State University, East Bay in Hayward. And you can see in that blue area at the bottom, it will tell you what the benefits would be provided you are eligible for, how you entered it up at the top. So if you are eligible for the post 9/11 and you have 36 months of benefits, then you will receive this much amount in tuition and fees, this much amount in out-of-pocket living expenses. And then as you go down further, there'll be a little bit of information about the school, including the graduation rate. So what you want is a high graduation rate. And what you don't want, I don't think, is to go to a school with a low graduation rate. Unless you want to be a perpetual student, your goal is to graduate and get out of there. And then on top of that, it also gives the loan rates. Hopefully, if you are getting an Army benefit, you won't be taking out as many loans as the average student. But you can definitely compare universities or colleges and see that some students come out with heavily in debt compared with other colleges. So here's how the financial aid award is packaged by the college. So first of all, the college will take any government money that you're entitled to, which might be the VA military benefits, state and federal benefits, those grants and work study and loans. And then if there's a gap, it will consider whether or not the college wants to chip in some money. And they might do that if they like the students, as I mentioned before. If the students are good academically, is an athlete, or has additional talent. And if that package isn't enough, then the rest of it will be paid by the family. And here's the basic formula. So we have cost of attendance less expected family contribution equals need. So cost of attendance we've looked at. That's That's the numbers that Gina was talking about at the beginning. You can go to the college website and get their cost of attendance. So let's say their cost of attendance at this college is $40,000. Next number you need is this EFC, or Expected Family Contribution. This is a number that's calculated by the government when you submit the FAFSA financial aid application. Let's say your EFC is $20,000. So $40,000 cost of attendance minus $20,000 EFC would give you $20,000 of need. So the idea here is that the family is going to pay the $20,000 EFC, and either the government or the college is going to pay the other $20,000 of need. So that EFC number is calculated by the government based on these four main factors. There are some other factors, but these are the main ones. And the main factor of the main factors is typically parents' income. The higher the parent income, the less need-based financial aid you're going to get. Parents' assets are also taken into account, as is students' income and student assets. But frankly, most students are broke, so it's really the parents' income and assets that really drive that EFC number. So how you apply for that, how that EFC number is calculated, you apply by submitting the FAFSA. And the FAFSA takes the numbers that you put in the application and calculates that EFC and sends it to the colleges on your list. And then the colleges use it in order to package the aid, to figure out how much aid they're going to offer your student. And this is not a one-time thing. You'll do this every year. So every year, the colleges refigure how much aid they're going to give to the student, depending on that EFC number. So we have prepared an information PDF on filing the 2015-16 FAFSA, which we'll be happy to send you. But here's and that PDF has explanations. This is an example screen or page in the PDF explaining what you need to do in order to file the FAFSA. So by following this as you go through the process, you should successfully file the FAFSA. And there are sections, as you can see, this is an example, where we explain some of the questions and how to answer them. So the FAFSA, if your student's going to college in 2015, you'll be filing the FAFSA come January. That January 1st is when you'll be able to file it first. Basically, the sooner you get it done, I think the better. It's really not difficult. If you're prepared, if you've got that PDF in front of you and you're prepared, it should only take 20 minutes to half an hour to file the application. So let's look at the outcomes that are possible for, let's say, 3 different income levels. A low-income family should expect to get significant need-based aid. A middle-income family might get some need-based aid, and a high-income family is probably not going to get need-based aid unless they have more than one child in college at a time. So if you're a low income family, maybe a single parent, a widow, then you should maybe qualify for the military scholarship, the post 9/11 GI Bill, a Pell Grant, perhaps supplemented by the Iraq-Afghanistan Service Grant, if that's applicable, and expect some work study, some college need-based grants, and maybe some college merit aid if it's a good student. What you would like to do is to look for colleges that have plenty of money to give out, because as a low-income family, that makes you can expect more money if they have more money to give out. If you're not low income, you own a home and have some other assets, then frankly the aid will mainly be those loans. The benefit of the loans, of course, is that they make college possible, and the student has many years to pay the loans back. If you don't borrow too much, it's not really an issue. You've seen some horror stories in the newspapers, but frankly, those are students who made mistakes along the way. They were totally underfunded. They went to a college that was too expensive. They changed their major. They stayed there too long, and the loans grew and multiplied. That's where they got into trouble. If you're taking just the regular amount of the federal loans that are offered, that's entirely manageable for a student graduating with an undergraduate degree. However, on top of that, you can apply to private colleges that offer generous need and merit awards and try and get more money from them. Now, when I say that, very elite schools don't really need to do that. They have so many applicants that they don't have to be generous with their money, even though those are the schools with the most money. And if you've got a high income, and the EFC is actually higher than the cost of attendance, that means you won't get any aid other than the unsubsidized federal loan called a Stafford loan. On the other hand, the colleges are going to like a family with lots of money, so it might actually be easier to get admitted into a college if they can see that you can pay. So let's use that information we just gained on the financial aid to look at how we might use it in a plan. So paying for college is like paying for anything. Can you afford it? The fundamental key is what you will have to pay is what you can afford. On the other hand, don't forget, it's a great investment for the student. All this money spent on college is a great investment for the student because the student's going to have a higher income on graduation. But it's not a great investment for the rest of the family. So especially if you've got younger children, you really don't want to spend all of the available money on the first child going to college and having none left for the second or third child. And then after that, you've got to think, if we spend all the money on college, how do we pay for retirement? Students can borrow for college, parents can't borrow for retirement. So other than the need-based aid, where does the money come from? It comes from parent income, student income. There's no reason students shouldn't work part-time while they're at college, and many do. College savings, if you've managed to put money away for college. Other family money, maybe grandparents, uncles, aunts. You might be able to get some private scholarships. The government will give you a tax credit for going to college, and then you've got the loans that you can take out. So here's what it might look like. Remember, you've got to balance the two sides. What you can afford equals what you're going to have to pay. So sit down and plan how much can you afford? How much can the parents contribute from their income? How much can we expect the student to earn realistically? Can we get any money from other family members? Can we get any private scholarships? Are we getting a tax break? So add those up, and that gets to be, really what the family can contribute. And it might take you an evening or a couple of evenings to think through that and put a number together. But then you have a number, what you think you can afford. Then you have to balance that against the colleges. So for each college, you'll look up the cost of attendance. You will subtract your estimate for need-based aid from those various grant sources that we just looked at. And after that, it's a matter of, will the college give extra money in order to meet the net cost? So here's an example of what that might look like. So let's say we have the parents can contribute $500 a month towards college. And remember, the student's costing you money right now. They're eating you at a house of home. You're paying for the clothing, all that kind of thing. So the student's costing you money now. So maybe it's not that much more to do $500 a month. If you have some savings, divide those up into 4 years, and that's available. The student can earn some money in vacations, get some family gifts, private scholarship, take out the Stafford loan, and you get a tax credit. So it all mounts up. What you can afford here is $22,750. But you're looking at a college that costs $40,000. So how does that manage? Well, can we get what kind of grants are we going to get? Let's say we get a Pell Grant. The college chips in $6,000 of a need-based grant because of the EFC, and we're looking for them to chip in another $5,000 of merit aid, and it matches. So what we're saying really is that we can go to this college, which costs $40,000, if the college will give us $11,000 on top of the Pell Grant that we expect. So that's why college selection is so important. It's not just picking a college that offers the education you want. It's picking a college that is likely to offer you sufficient financial aid to go. So in picking colleges, the student's the one going, so they need to be the one doing the picking. But the parents must get involved to make sure that it is going to be affordable. Otherwise, this is where families go wrong. When the student gets admitted to a very expensive university, and the family has to turn around and say, but we can't afford it. Or what's worse than that is that the family says, we'll try to afford it, and then breaks the bank doing so. And what's even worse than that is they try to afford it, but can only afford the first 2 or 3 years, have broken the bank, and the student leaves college with no degree and a lot of debt. So that's why picking an affordable college is important. So the family has to take some decisions. Is the student going to find employment while they're at college? Does the student understand that they're responsible for the loans? Is the student financially mature going to college on their own? Are they going to have a credit card? Have they experienced using a credit card? Have they experienced budgeting? Or are they going to get themselves into financial trouble? And then finally, is there an expectation that the student shall maintain a specific grade point average in order for the family to continue to provide support? So you need a strategy. Now, I don't particularly like the strategy of going to community college first. To me, that's maybe an indication that the educational goals haven't been thought through, because what community college does, well, it's inexpensive, but if you have a military scholarship, that's a valuable thing, and you're not using it to the best extent. If you've got a scholarship which could pay $20,000 a year, and you're going to a school that's costing $2,000, you're wasting $18,000 of potential aid. On the other hand, some students apply to colleges that they're really not going to get in. They're probably inadequate academic ability. They're not going to be offered a place, or if they are offered a place, it's going to come with no aid. So what's an alternative to that is to step down a little bit in terms of the colleges you're looking at. You're going to be comfortable there academically, and they are going to want you and be able to offer aid to you. And that's the kind of college you want, because they will offer that aid. Although there's a lot of talk about how difficult colleges are to get into, really what people are thinking about there are the top 50 colleges, the big names, the ones with the big football teams. Those are difficult to get into. And because so many people want to go there, they don't have to be particularly generous with the money. But then that leaves literally thousands of other colleges across the country that actually want your student, that actually worry that they won't have enough students next year. and those students are going to be much more generous. They're going to, let's say the college is $40,000, the cost of attendance, but they're quite used to giving out $10,000 or $15,000 of merit aid in order to change that price. So the student needs to there needs to be a reason for the college to give this money to the student. So what kind of students the college is looking for? Well, first of all, they're looking for some special talents. Maybe the easiest example is athletes. They're looking for athletes to put on their teams. Maybe the parents are a rich parent. Obviously, they love rich parents. But they're also looking for minority or first-generation students or different culture students, and maybe also military students or students from military families. And then definitely they're looking for academically, good students academically. So if your student has high SAT or ACT scores, then that would definitely be a good example. So what do I mean by high? You can, on various websites, find the SAT rankings for different colleges. So as an example here, here are the 75th percentile SAT scores in reading for the University of San Francisco, Chapman University, and Claremont McKenna. You can see they're different. If you have an SAT reading score of 650, then at the University of San Francisco, you look pretty good. You're above the 75th percentile, and the University of San Francisco is really going to appreciate that and offer you money for it. At Chapman, yes, it's good, but it's not super good. At Claremont, 650 is not going to get you any merit aid. So you want to use what SAT scores, your GPA, compare it with the SAT and GPA scores that the college is. Put yourself into a college where you're in the top 25% of the students academically, and then you might expect some aid if they give it out. So this is supposed to be a grid that is used by a particular college, and you can see that up at the top left of it, there's a little box that says 0, and at the bottom right of it, there's a little box that says $30,000. And where your student falls in this grid is determined by need, but also by academic rank. If you're in the top 20%, that would be the column on the right, top with the heading 5. So you're in the top 1/5 of students academically. Over on the left, we have the need. So number 7 would be a very low-income family. So if you're a low-income family, number 7, with great academics, number 5 over on the top line, then they're going to give you $30,000. And you can see that if you've got middling need and a middling academic rank, you might get $5,000. So you think of each school having a table like this and where you are going to fit onto their table. So ideally you want to be over that 75th percentile mark in order to expect significant merit aid. So you have to research schools, research what their GPAs and SAT scores are. You can you can look on their websites for something called the net price calculator, which is a little calculator that will estimate the aid that they give to you. So use the net price calculator and see if they're going to give you enough. So just to summarize this presentation, a bachelor's degree is the key to higher income. It's going to require 4+ years of study, and it's expensive. So understand your eligibility for financial aid, and select a school that meets your education goals and is affordable given your expected aid. So don't forget to apply for financial aid. Don't forget to investigate your eligibility for the military scholarships. You want to create a budget and use that in selecting colleges. And you also want to complete the degree in 4 years. So take a close look at the 4-year graduation rate for the colleges. And then finally, if your student's a little bit younger, you've time to work on the financial maturity of the student. It's not too long now before they actually go to college and will need to be in control of their own finances. So where to find money for college? The cost of college is the critical thing. You can always go to a less expensive school. You want to look for those VA, federal, and state need-based aid. You want to look for tuition discounts. And you want to graduate in 4 years, not 5 or more. So if you have any questions, please email them to me. Here's my email. Or give me a call, 650-526-9461. And now I'll hand it back to Gina.
Hi everyone, thank you Mr. Beck for all the important information. Right now I am going to go ahead and discuss scholarship and grants specifically for military connected students. Okay. I want to let everyone know that every year there's millions of dollars of scholarship money that go unclaimed. And just a little brief introduction about scholarships and grants, a little bit from what Mr. Beck was speaking about, and finding out which scholarship is right for you. So scholarships are financial aid, and they're given to individuals that want to pursue their educational purposes, like paying for tuition, books, room and board. And scholarships are usually awarded based on academics, extracurricular activities, based on financial need, leadership, community service, and so on. And sometimes you want to look outside the box. There's scholarships that are awarded from your local organizations or services that you use on a daily basis. Maybe a local restaurant that you eat at with your family. Also, if your parent works for a company, they may also offer scholarships as well for their employees and their dependents. Scholarships may require for the recipient to maintain a certain GPA or take a certain number of course hours to maintain the eligibility. So I want you guys to keep that in mind when you're applying for scholarships. Look at what the policy is and the guidelines when you do receive these scholarships. Also, for grants, they're funded by nonprofit organizations or colleges, and usually you have to meet certain financial criteria. For grant and scholarship, they're also known as gift aid because they're free money and you don't have to pay them back. So you really want to start applying for those because at the end you don't want to have a bunch of loans where you're going to be stressing about how am I going to repay for this. So that's great if you can get a grant or scholarship. But I want to go back to applying for scholarships. For some of you may have already looked at what's the eligibility requirement, and you think, man, I don't know if I meet this. But I want you to start thinking that a scholarship is an organization trying to make that financial investment in you and your potential to succeed. So I mention this because you may have looked at the GPA requirement and you feel that it's not up to par to what they're expecting, or you barely meet that eligibility requirement. I don't want you guys to dwell on this. There are plenty of scholarships out there that require a 2.0 GPA. You just have to look for them. And plus, take this as an opportunity to shine through your personal statement and explain why to that organization they should invest in you. And just another reminder, there's millions of dollars of scholarship that are out there that go unclaimed. And underneath, I've provided a couple of general databases that you can go to do the research. And also keep in mind, use your high school guidance counselor. They're a big key. They're going to be able to narrow down certain scholarships and grants that you'd be eligible for. So keep looking. They're out there. So scholarships based on parental military service. Paying for college can be a real big challenge, like Mr. Beck had said in his presentation. Whether or not it's you or your parent who's paying for this expense, it can be stressful thinking how you're going to pay for this, but children of service members may be eligible to take advantage of many federal grants, educational benefits, scholarships exclusively to military-connected students. Scholarships may be available if the parent belongs to a certain branch of service, specific specialty, served as a certain military effort or war, served aboard a certain vessel, or was injured or passed during the military service. Also, you may find out that if your grandparent belongs to a certain military-related organization, there may be opportunities for you there as well. And here are just a handful of different scholarships that the school service specialist may have. So the first one is American Legions, Thanks USA Scholarship, the U.S. Army Women's Foundation, and this is for children with mothers who are serving honorably in the Army Reserve, National Guard, Active Army. The Fry Scholarship. The scholarship entitles children and spouses of those who have passed away in the line of duty on or after September 11, 2001 to use the post 9/11 benefits. And for further assistance, you may contact myself or your local school service specialist for additional scholarships. So I want to bring this to your attention, which is the college fee waiver. This is the California Veterans Dependents waives mandatory system-wide tuition fees at any state California community college, a Cal State, a UC campus. However, this does not cover the cost of books, parking, or room and board. There are 4 plans under which dependents of veterans may be eligible, and I want you to visit this link down here for a little bit more information to determine if you would be available. Or contact your local California Veterans Service Officer. Before we wrap up the scholarship portion, remember, never stop applying. There's plenty of scholarships out there, and it's open to students as early as grade school. Also, you shouldn't stop applying after you've graduated from high school and throughout college. So this wraps up the portion, and I will hand it off to Ms. Kamara Rajabari, who is the Youth Service Specialist.
Thank you, Gina. My name is Kamara Rajabari. I am the Youth Services Specialist for the 63rd RSC. And I'm here to speak with you about 3 common mistakes that a lot of parents make when it comes to making sure that their students are ready for scholarships, ready to receive those scholarship grants. So 3 common mistakes that impact scholarship awards and how to improve your scholarship award applications. Probably the number 3 mistake is the failure to plan. And many families do not realize how early you can actually start to be successful in this process. So one of the biggest mistakes that can probably be made is not realizing that there is a timeline to this application process. And you may be considering, oh, there's just the college application process, but a lot of financial aid and scholarships also have deadlines. This is not a hard and fast rule, but generally around your student's junior year, or if you are the student, around the junior year, you want to start looking in November and December for those deadlines. By that time, you should have your PSAT, SAT scores, and you should know where you would fit in some of the merit-based scholarship grants. And of course, the higher your scores are, the higher your award will be in terms of merit-based scholarships. So you want to definitely start to research some scholarships at the very latest, November and December of the junior year of your student. And this could go, if you see scholarships and you're in your senior year, that's fine as well, if you're not too late to apply for them. Also, you can make note of them. If you have a freshman or a sophomore, make note of and start researching scholarships early. But always take note that scholarships and grants can change from year to year. So you don't want to rely on something that you may have researched in your freshman year, and the application may have changed, the requirements may have changed, so just make sure that you're doing your research ahead of time. Also, I may have mentioned this already, that sophomore year probably is the ideal time to sit down and make that plan. Freshman, it's not too early, but things are often changing from your freshman to sophomore year. So you want to take that time to sit down with your student, make a plan, take a snapshot of everything that they need, talk to your school counselor, see if your student has some scholarship-worthy activity that they could put on their scholarship applications. The number 2 biggest mistake is an over-reliance on grades. Grades are very important. However, a lot of colleges right now have a lot of students to pick from, especially those colleges that are highly competitive. Everyone who's applying to those highly competitive colleges, say like in the UC system, UC Berkeley, UCLA, they already have a great pool of students, which include foreign students who can afford to pay cash for their college education with well above average grades. So that means that your student is not only, the criteria is not only college grades, but this college has to consider other ways in which students would be a great contribution to their school. So we have to look at more than just grades. And so many parents underestimate how important it is for their teens to engage in scholarship-worthy activities to improve their scholarship applications. Why are colleges looking for these students? Because they want well-rounded students. They want students that can represent their college and universities way beyond their graduation so that they can strengthen their alumni base. So students need to consistently be able to not only do well that freshman year, but throughout those 4 years in college and represent the school well. They look at well-rounded students as being able to make it through college independently with the least amount of help. So in order to secure some of these high scholarship awards, grades are definitely a consideration, but you also need to have scholarship-worthy activities to contribute to the application process. Probably the number 1 mistake that specifically Army Reserve parents may make is not participating in Army Reserve CYSS programs. The Army Reserve, and this can be a costly mistake because the Army Reserve has family programs created Army Reserve Child, Youth, and School Services to assist our parents with children, our families with children, to strengthen our families. And part of that for the teenagers, ages 13 to 17, is providing them with leadership and volunteer training. So this volunteer training and leadership training from the Army Reserve has considerably impacted many of the youth's scholarship chances who participated in our programs. In fact, I personally know some students who have received scholarships for their entire college career. And they are, in addition to the scholarships that Mr. Beck and Ms. Nguyen has spoken of, they have received other merit-based scholarships and basically do not have to pay anything. Their family does not have to pay anything for college as a result of participating in CYSS programming and finding out that the scholarships and the grants were really impressed by their participation in these programs. Some of the programs that we have to offer are command team councils, and these are ran by different commands. So the command-based leadership development is an opportunity for your team to get together with other teams that fall under that command to work on leadership-based projects. They will probably work with the family programs of that command very closely, as well as with the command's leadership. They would probably participate. It varies from command to man what they're doing, but usually they're participating in service learning activities as well as other leadership projects and volunteer projects. Again, it will be based on the command, and the 63rd is currently recruiting for their 2015 command Team Council. So please get in touch with me. I'll have some further information at the end of this presentation. Another way that your student can get involved with Army Reserve CYSS programming that can help their scholarship opportunities is the Y-Lead. Y-Lead stands for the Youth Leadership Development Summit. And Y-Lead is basically a summit that teaches your team how to be a leader as well as how to use volunteerism as part of their leadership development. This program is very exciting, very important. We've had it ongoing for over 6 years, and it has brought together Army Reserve teams from all over the states, and including Guam, including American Samoa, including Puerto Rico. So this particular summit allows for teams to come together and meet other Army Reserve teams, develop themselves as leaders, do some volunteerism work, and accrue volunteer hours with the Army Reserve. In fact, for that event, they will, at the end of that event, they'll have 45 volunteer hours, which could also qualify for their high school volunteer requirement. We have these events all over the United States, and they are fully chaperoned by the Army Reserve CYSS staff. The teams get to participate in many different activities. They get to meet with local community leaders, military leaders, and they also are able to begin to plot out a plan for their own leadership development. Within that plan is perhaps applying for the Army Reserve Team Panel, which is another opportunity for your team, ages 14 and up. The Army Reserve Team Panel is a very selective team panel, so teams do have to apply to be a part of this. Teams from various commands will be a part of this team panel. We have about 40 team members right now on the team panel. They represent various commands from all over the United States, and they work on leadership projects, and they represent Army Reserve military children and report back issues to the Army Reserve Command. So this is a 2-year commitment. They do have to have a grade point average of the minimum 2.5. They need to be excited about working to develop themselves as leaders and working to support the Army Reserve family programs. So they get opportunities outside of meeting 4 times a year around the United States. They also get opportunities to work with local command CYSS staff on different events such as Yellow Ribbons and Family Days and other FRG events. From the Army Reserve Teen Panel, they may also, a few will apply to be a part of the Army Teen Panel, which is another opportunity to represent Army Reserve under the Army Active Army Teen Panel, which has some of the same opportunities, and your teen would be a representative of Army Reserve within that panel. A great place, you want to know more about these programs, a great place is to go to our website, which is down here at the bottom, www.cyssevents.com. I want to just show you really quickly what that website looks like. If you go here, this is the home page of our website. If you go to the right-hand side, you're going to see Youth Leadership Development Education, the Y-Lead Summit, so you can click here for more information. You can also read more information on the Army Reserve Teen Panel, its history, and how to apply. Also, within there are other community activities, command events, other information on school break camps, weekend enrichment, youth enrichment programs. All of these are opportunities for your student to be able to put this on their scholarship application. Just by being involved with the Army Reserve and the Army Reserve family programs and Army Reserve CYSS, it shows schools, it shows scholarship organizations that your student is definitely on a track for leadership, interested in leadership, interested in developing themselves. This is just a picture of our Sacramento Y-Lead in 2014 that met with the mayor of Sacramento, Mr. Kevin Johnson, who spoke with them about leadership. So these are just a few of the opportunities that your teen will get by participating in Army Reserve programs. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, these programs are free for Army Reserve dependents. So please take advantage of them. I want to quickly talk about DoD partners that we have. We have partnerships with 4-H. 4-H has been around for a long time. 4-H is an organization that is not simply about, they develop youth in leadership and in education, but they are no longer just the traditional thought is that they're in rural areas and teaching kids how to raise animals. That is part of the program still, but they have grown and expanded so much in terms of STEM-related programs, which is science and math-based programs, as well as a lot of different projects that have to do from clothing design to robotics. So the 4-H also has their own scholarships. So when their members are getting to a place where they want to apply for scholarships, 4-H in many states has their own scholarships. And by putting that participation on your teen's application, again, that is an additional indication that your teen is out in the community making a difference and willing to develop themselves. Another organization, Operation Military Kids. If you live outside of California, this organization also has a lot of leadership and educational development opportunities for your teen. They have specific programs where teams will go out and work with civilian kids, such as Speak Out for Military Kids, and help bridge the gap between military kids and civilian kids to help them understand the life of military kids. So another great opportunity. Boys and Girls Club of America operates in a lot of local areas. Again, some great programs to help your team develop in the community and develop their scholarship opportunities. So if you want to know any more information about our programs and opportunities within Army Reserve Child, Youth, and School Services, please do not hesitate to give me a call. I'd be happy to speak with you. If you live outside of state or you're with a different command, I can point you to the right person to get more information for your youth so that they can participate in our programs that I personally believe have a powerful impact on your child's future in terms of getting those scholarships and developing themselves as a leader. So thank you for your time. I'll hand it back to Gina.
Hi everyone. Well, I want to thank everyone for their attention and participating in this webinar. And if there are any questions, feel free and go ahead and contact any one of us, myself, Ms. Gina Nguyen, Kamara Rajavari, or Mr. Beck about any questions you may have from this webinar. Also, we will be emailing you a questionnaire, and we'd like everyone to fill out the form and email it back to myself at gina.p.nguyen.ctr@mil.mil. And this will wrap up the workshop. Please go ahead and feel free to give us an email or give us a call if you have any questions.